Greetings, my dear LWML friends from Paso Robles, California, Steinbeck Vineyards. I'm Cindy Steinbeck. I know many of you from previous engagements and just the beauty of our hearts connecting in so many ways. This LWML Sunday is focusing on fruit. Jesus says in John 15:16 that we will bear fruit that will last. And so we'll be talking about that, but before we address the fruit that will last, I want you to see something very important that I have learned over these years in Steinbeck Vineyards. Now, this is a shoot that I cut away from this Cabernet Sauvignon plant just a few moments ago. At every single leaf you see, there's something called a bud. And that tiniest little bud, we cut one away here, wound up inside this bud is all of the shoot and fruit growth for the following year. So we're paying attention to the fruit of 2020 right now, which will be harvested, I would suggest it within the next 2 to 3 weeks. But wound up in this bud is also very important because it's the fruit and the shoot for the following year. So as you can see, that is bright green in the center of that bud. So at the nursery, there is, they've propagated a stick of grapevine that's called a rootstock. Now we're going to pretend that this is rootstock. This is a non-fruit-bearing grapevine. Now I have an example right here. The rootstock goes from here all the way down these roots, and you can see that's about 24 inches long. So the rootstock gets planted in the soil at about this depth, and then everything you see here is under the soil. And then take a close look right here. That is something called the graft union. And so we're going to do this as an example of what happens at the nursery. They use a specialized tool, not a clipper like this, but this is going to work for us. They snip a deep cut into the flesh of this rootstock. And then this bud that's cut at exactly the correct angle is placed into the flesh of the rootstock. And then a Band-Aid-like substance is used by the nurseries and wrapped around that tiny little bud. And when that bud begins growing right here at the nursery, they cut off the rootstock. And remember, this is just an example, but the root goes deep into the soil. And so here is this bud, and here is the rootstock. Now let's think about John 15. Jesus says, I am the vine, we are the branch. That tiniest little bud is the branch cut away from the old and grafted into the life of the vine. Now let's think of Revelation, where Jesus says, I am the root. So you see, Jesus is the vine and Jesus is the root. We are the branch grafted into his holy life. Paul in Romans 11 says, if the root is holy, the branches are holy. Our holiness is not about what we do. It is not about the fruit we bear. Our holiness is because we're grafted into the very life of the vine, Jesus Christ. And that vine is the root. we, as branches grafted into the vine, find our home in Christ Jesus. His roots go deep into the soil. We are this bud. When we are cut away from the old, we bleed. When we are placed into the flesh of Christ, he bled for us so that we could abide, dwell, stay, live in Christ. Paul and Peter use this language all the time. It is because of him that you are in Christ Jesus. And we all know that that is the language of our baptism. This image of being grafted into the vine, the root, as a branch, is a mirror image of our baptism. There's something else that I want you to ponder. Jesus did not say, I am like a vine. The Jews wouldn't have hung him on the cross. He didn't say, I am like the root. They wouldn't have hung him on the cross. The reason they hung him on the cross is because he says, I am the vine. I am the root. I am the I am. And we are grafted into his holy life. And from that context, and only that context, is it time to turn and talk about the fruit of our lives, kingdom fruit that will last forever. Paul says in Ephesians 2 that we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works that he has prepared in advance that we would walk in them. The fruit of our lives is as a result of the position in which we dwell. The fruit of our lives is not something we create in and of ourselves. The fruit of our lives is masterfully created because we are a workmanship, a masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to walk in the fruit he has prepared in advance for us. So then what does that look like? Let's talk a little bit about the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These grapes in my vineyard, this fruit does not harvest itself. That is an important lesson as we ponder the fact that we also do not graft ourselves into the vine. That is done by the hands and heart of the vine dresser. In that same way, our fruit matures on these shoots at the hand of the vine dresser who trains and thins, and then eventually, as the grapes mature, has the picking done. So let's think about the fruit of joy. What brings you great joy? For me, at this stage in my life, my grandchildren bring me great joy as we play on the floor, whether it's tractors or dolls or whatever it is we are playing. That brings me great joy and such a privilege. Let's think about the fruit of patience. How many of us struggle with things that are completely beyond our control at this time in history in our lives? Yet God is harvesting the fruit of our patience as we wait on him in these extreme circumstances. How about the fruit of Christ's life? The fruit of the forgiveness he won on the cross. That fruit was born because people hated him for saying, I am the I am. That fruit was born because he was nailed to the cross by people who hated him. Has your fruit of forgiveness been born of maturity because of extreme circumstances of people hurting you? In so many ways, the fruit of our lives is born under extreme circumstances. We think of self-control, the challenges we face with that, whether it's our own emotions we don't understand, whether it's frustration or anger. What is God working to mature the fruit of our lives in Him? And this is kingdom fruit, fruit that will last because it flows from the position of being grafted into the vine, grafted into the root, from which flows the sap, the water, the nutrients, the cleansing blood of Christ that cleanses us from all sin, strengthens us, nourishes us, gives us growth, gives us freedom to bear fruit, unique to us, fruit unique to me, born in Steinbeck Vineyards, born where you reside. And that beautiful fruit that Christ works in us, He works also through us to bring glory to His name and to further His kingdom on this earth. May God bless you and keep you, shine on you, and mature the fruit that He is bringing forward in you.